Okay. Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I am here with Mark Silverman, owner of Mark J. Silverman Associates, LLC, who Mark is an executive coach, a speaker, a podcaster, and author of 3 books. The latest is the Rising Leader Handbook. And Mark, what don't you do? It's a lot going on. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm a constant social media arranger. That seems to be a big part of my job. My assistant's like, Mark, we need more videos for social media. Uh, so what else do I do? I'm a father of 2 adult sons. I have 2 amazing dogs. I raise saltwater fish, and I write books and podcast and coach.
Very cool. I actually tried saltwater fish once. It was not for me. It's it's very detailed. There's a lot that goes into it, so you must be detail oriented. So
I have a man come in and take care of my tank once.
You have a guy for your fish. You have a fish guy. So I forgot to mention, because this is the first time doing this, that I'm here on behalf of Associates for Enterprise Growth. Mark is a member. He's been a member for, it's 6 months or so ish.
Almost a year.
Almost a year. Okay, cool. And AEG is an organization, and our mission is to create personal and business growth through trusted relationships. So we have amazing members, and Mark happens to be one of them. So we're happy to have him here. We do these member spotlights once a month and highlight what's going on with our members and how they serve their audience and rising and growing trends in their market. So we're excited to have Mark with us today. So Mark, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you serve people in your business.
So I'm an executive coach. I work with people who are in the kind of the upper levels of leadership in an organization, whether they're an entrepreneur or in a larger corporation. I have about 1/3 of my clients are entrepreneurs, CEOs of smaller companies, and then the bulk of my clientele are in the C-suite. And what I do is I teach leadership skills, but I teach leadership skills from the inside out. Most of us can read the 10 traits a good leader has and try and aspire to them. We've read all the books. And what I try to do is I try to help get underneath to who the person is and how they can show up in that capacity. By working on from the inside out, we don't have to play whack-a-mole with behaviors so much. We get much more impact that way.
Very cool. How long do you usually work with your clients? Is this an ongoing thing where they sign up with you and they kind of need coaching forever, or do you have limited time on it? Or
I do 6-month contracts with people,
Gotcha.
and I have been coaching some people 6 months at a time for 7 years. I have clients who are kind of lifers, and I've seen them before they got married, after they got married, after they started having kids, and the challenges just change. And being almost 62 years old, I have some life experience that helps them through those times in their lives.
Yeah, that's great. It's nice to have the longevity in those relationships too. So, and I'm sure over the years, you've seen a lot of changes within the coaching industry also, and within your business too.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things we like to talk about is the trends that are happening in your business and how you help your clients navigate through them. So, can you talk about some of those trends that you're seeing these days and how they've changed over the years?
Well, the trend in my business is coaching is much more acceptable, accessible. People understand that you can get from here to here a lot faster if you have help. So that investment pays dividends. The most important thing is, because there's so many coaching schools and there's so many people profiting from creating coaches, is to make sure that you have a coach who has the experience that you need and who you have a vibe with, right? You have to do chemistry calls. You have to spend some time with your coach before you hire the coach. It's a huge investment, and make sure that you're in alignment in what you want to create, and they're the person to help you. As far as for me is concerned, what I'm seeing is basically a lack of leadership in the business world, but not in the cliche, not in the way that everybody talks about. Everybody's reading the books. Everybody's going to the courses. So many people have coaches and are learning leadership skills. The problem is the world is so stressful. Things are happening at such a clip. Just 2 days ago, OpenAI added, a voice interactive interface with AI. And it's right out of the movies, and it's right out of the future. What does that mean for my job? What does that mean? What skills do I have to learn in order to stay ahead? articles am I reading about which jobs it's going to take first? Then we have the political climate, which the world events and local events are driving people crazy. Then people have their own family issues and just stuff to deal with. Mental health issues are skyrocketing, and we have to deal with all of these things and then get dressed and go to work. So we can know all the skills that we need to know. We can know how to handle any situation. We know how to be vulnerable. We know how to ask questions. We know how to inspire. But if we're in fight or flight, if we're stressed out to the max, if our allostatic load, and most people don't know what allostatic load is that level of stress that we walk around with at any given time.
Mhm.
So, if you're late for work and you spilled the coffee and you looked at something on Twitter that made you mad, your allostatic load is all the way up here. So when you walk into work, you have a hair trigger temper. If you meditated in the morning and you exercised and you kissed your kids goodbye, like, your allostatic load is better and you give more people the benefit of the doubt. Most people's allostatic load is up here. So we don't have a lot of free room to be at our best. And I think that that's what's affecting most people. I think that's why people find it really hard to interact at work, because of the stress levels and people just not being at their best.
Wow, so interesting. So many, so many questions. It sounds like then you help people both personally and in their business lives, right? By helping them get to that place where allostatic load might not be up here, but might be here instead. Is that correct?
The dirty little secret is I get people promotions, I get people more money, I get people leadership skills, and I don't care about any of those. I care about their experience of life. I care about their relationship with their children. I care about their relationship with their spouse, with themselves. I care about the whole person. It just so happens when you lift those boats, the success, the money, the promotion boat rises also.
Gotcha. Because I was going to say, I've listened to some of your podcasts. I know they're not all focused on just business. They encompass a lot of different things that might be more on the woo side, as we say. So, oh, very cool. And I love that you mentioned AI too, because that is just such a hot topic these days. So, how are you keeping up with AI, and how are you helping your clients deal with all that's going on with AI in their lives? Because that varies a lot by industry too, and how it affects them. So
what I do is I deal with the stress. I deal with how do you get strategic in this fashion. My clients know their business better than I do. My clients know how to navigate these things. I get them in the right frame of mind. I get them, help them write the business plans to make sure that they're in the pocket with those things, but they know better how to deal with those things.
Gotcha. And how are you keeping up with AI in your business? Is it a part of your business, or are you just kind of, letting?
I had a I had a few months of, I was happy with the iPhone, and we are now too far into technology. I'm AI years old, where like I didn't like it. And I was phobic with it. And now I use ChatGPT for, I just worked with someone and I took two of their books and helped them with AI write the outline for their workshop for their two books in AI. So I'm getting versed enough to be able to use it in that fashion.
And I think that's a good point. I think a lot of us are dipping our toes into it and seeing how it goes. Mark Haas did have a question here, and it says, for you, he says, how do you help an executive develop trust in you? And what do you do if you can't develop the needed trust and relationship in 6 months?
Ooh, that is so good. So I go first. I'm vulnerable first. I share my story. I let them know who I am pretty early in the phone call. Most of my clients, I do a session. I do a chemistry session or two where we spend some time and we talk about their challenges, their gifts, their childhood, their everything that's going on with them, and I talk about mine. And then we generally find a place where we can hook in. I remember I was working with one person, and I said, "Look, here's what I do. I work with the bull in the china closet. I work with the person who's super talented but has no manners and is disrupting the leadership team." And he gets quiet and he says, "That's me." He says, "That's me." I said, "Okay, so now we have a place to start." Right. So but I did have one executive that I couldn't gather trust. No matter what I did, I was an operative for her CEO who was trying to oust her, right? And it was
Oh,
and
wow.
she just couldn't get past the fact. I actually cried in a coaching session, and I said, "Look, I just wanna help. If I'm not helpful, let's not do this. I'm okay. You can have all the money back. Like, I don't wanna do this if you don't trust me." And ultimately, the CEO fired her.
Oh my gosh. That's really,
But
that's the
but she
best.
she was on her way out the door anyway because of behavior problems, right?
Yeah,
I was hired because she did have behavior problems. So just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not after you, but just because you're
right.
paranoid, you're doing things like you have to be self-aware.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. That's a great answer to that. I love that. So, okay. And so, oh, I was going to say, and if you haven't heard Mark's story, definitely get in touch with him and chat with him. I know you have part of it on your LinkedIn profile, and I'm sure you have it everywhere. But Mark's story is fascinating and amazing. So make sure you connect with him if you haven't already. Mark, we did mention your books in the beginning. I know that you have 3 books out, and the Rising Leader Handbook is the latest one. So if you want to talk about the books, and then I'd love to hear what would be a key takeaway from the Rising Leader Handbook once everybody reads it? Like, what do you think is a key takeaway from that book?
Sure. So the Rising Leader Handbook, turning high achievers into effective leaders. It's basically what I do all day is I teach people to lead from 4 different perspectives: leading up, becoming a trusted advisor; leading across, being a leader on a team of strong leaders; leading your team, which of course we always have to do; and then leading yourself, being your best in every situation. So for me, it's how do I help the whole person navigate the 3-dimensional chess that is climbing the corporate ladder or running a business with personalities. And for me, the key takeaway, I figured the key takeaway after I wrote the book, and what I realized is I use leadership for personal transformation. I use the conversations that you have with your boss. I have to use the conversations and the conflicts that you have with your peers. I have your personal struggles. I use those for your own personal transformation to set you free. So if your boss, says something to you and it shuts you down, for me, that's gold, right? That'll help us figure out what inside of you is shutting down when someone brings a criticism to you or something like that, and we work on that. So for me, leadership is a means to an end of freedom for me.
Love that. That's a great takeaway for it. And then, did you want to talk about your other 2 books?
Well, so
Really
Only
quickly.
Tens is
Oh,
the book that put me on the map. Only Tens,
okay.
confront your to-do list, transform your life. It's free on my website. So if you go to my website, you can download it for free. It's sold about 75,000 copies, which is really cool. Now I just give it away because it's such a transformational book on questioning why things are on your to-do list. Why do you do what you do? Why don't you say no to things? Why don't you set boundaries? Why don't you have difficult conversations? For me, it was a transformational book just writing it.
Okay, very cool. Awesome. And I know we're getting to our 15 minutes, so I did want to kind of wrap up with a question. Tell us a little bit about why you joined AEG and why you would recommend others join AEG.
I joined AEG mostly because I'm an introvert, and if I left to
Are
my
you
own
really?
left to my
Yeah.
own devices, I will stay in my house with my dogs and my fish.
Mhm.
Uh, I was part of a BNI for years, and I loved my BNI group. I found the best group with the best people, and I loved the relationships I had with people. But it was the wrong place for me. For what I do for a living, I needed to work I needed to be in a networking group and to build relationships with people who advise the kind of people I advise.
Mhm.
And when I found AEG and I went to a couple of meetings, I met people who were working with bigger corporations who were working with mergers and acquisitions and the kinds of things that lead to work for me. So because we work with the same type of clients, the synergy was great.
Very cool. And so, and you would say, like, if anybody's looking to work with clients like that, AEG is a great place to be then.
It's a great
Awesome.
place to be, and they cater uh, the best meetings.
The meetings are a lot of
Dinner last
fun.
night was really good. I was starving, and I was so thankful it was there.
But you don't just come for the food, you come for the networking. I just want to put that out there. Yeah. So, Mark, thank you. This has been super helpful. And I just love getting to know more about you. I've known you for years and years and years. So it's
I
great
took
to.
your Canva class years
Oh
ago
my
to
gosh.
learn how to do
Mm,
social media
I
from you.
hope that worked.
It did. Now I have an assistant who does it, so I don't have to touch it.
Yeah, actually still love Canva. So, and I'm learning more every day. They have some great features, but we're not talking about Canva today, but that's really funny. Yeah, Mark and I met years ago when I think I visited your BNI way back when.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So, anyway, to wrap up, I'm Lisa Nichols. I handle AAG's social media and have been with them for, I think, a couple of years now. Love, love, love the group. Mark is one of our elite advisors. We have monthly meetings. We had one just last night with great food, as you've heard, over in Tyson. So we kind of wander between there and Rockville. So if you want to learn more about AEG and building trusted business relationships that lead to more business, please reach out to me, to Mark Haas, to Molly Fonpadith, or you can even drop a note in the chat below. We're going to be monitoring the chat to see if you guys have any questions. And Mark is going to drop his contact info in there too as soon as we're done, so you guys can get in touch with us. But I think that is everything to wrap up. So Mark, thank you so much for your time. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you. And again, reach out to Mark, go to his website, get his book for free now, which is fantastic, and learn his story because it's a great story. So thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Lisa.